Tesman.
I'm Mindy Carpenter.
And I'm Jordan, and I'll be playing Judge Brack, and this is a scene from Hedda Gabler.
I'm Hedda Gabler. Figured that one.
Well, is your wife reasonably pleased?
Yes, we can't thank you enough. I mean, she tells me there's still 1 or 2 changes she wants made, and a few things she still needs, so I expect we shall have to make a few more minor purchases.
Oh, really?
But we're not going to bother you anymore. Hedda told me everything she needed she would see to herself. Let's sit down, shall we?
Yes, all right, thank you. Just for a minute. There's something I want to talk to you about, Tessa.
Is there? Oh, I know. I suppose it's time for the after-dinner speeches now, isn't it? Fundamentals,
You mean the financial arrangements? Oh, no. There's nothing very pressing about them. Although I'm beginning to wish we had said about things a little more modestly.
But how could we have done? What about Hedda? You know her well enough by now, don't you? You know I couldn't possibly expect her to put up with a life of genteel poverty.
Oh, no. Well, that's just the problem, isn't it?
Anyway, fortunately it won't be long till I'm given my appointment.
You must know that sort of thing is quite often a lengthy process.
You haven't heard anything more about it, have you?
No, nothing definite. There is one thing. I do have one piece of news for you.
What?
Your old friend, Eilert Loveborg, has arrived in town.
Yes, I know.
Oh? How did you find that out?
That friend of Hedda's told us.
Ah. What was her name? I didn't catch it.
Mrs. Elstead.
Ah, the sheriff's wife. Yes, he's been living around there somewhere, hasn't he?
Yes, and I was delighted to hear that he turned over a new leaf.
Apparently.
Extraordinary, and he seemed to have published a new book, hasn't he?
He has, yes.
And it's created something of a sensation.
Quite an unusual sensation.
Extraordinary. That's very good news. He's exceptionally talented. I was terribly afraid he'd gone to pieces.
That's what everybody thought.
But what's he going to do now? How's he going to make a living?
Tesman's always worried about how people are going to make a living.
We're just talking about poor Eilert Loveborg, dear.
Oh? What's the matter with him?
Well, he frittered away his inheritance a long time ago, and he can hardly publish a new book each year, can't he? So I was wondering what had become of him.
I might be able to give you some information about that.
Oh.
You must remember his relatives have quite a lot of influence.
Yes, but unfortunately his relatives have completely washed their hands of him.
At one time, he was thought of as the white hope of the family.
Yes, at one time, but he ruined that himself.
Who knows? While he was at Sheriff Elsted's, they're supposed to have rescued him.
And then there's this book he's published.
Yes, well, I hope to God they can help him find something to do. I've just written to him. I've invited here to come and see us tonight. Hedda?
Oh, but Tesman, I thought you were coming to my bachelor party this evening. You promised last night on the quay.
Had you forgotten, Tesman?
Yes, completely.
Anyway, I'm sure he won't come.
What makes you think that?
My dear Tesman, and you too, Mrs. Tesman, there's something I think it wouldn't be fair not to tell you about. It's
About Eilhart.
about you and him.
Well, then I think you better tell us.
You ought to be prepared not to make your appointment quite as automatic as you hope and expect.
Why? Has it been blocked in some way?
It's possible that the order of the posts may depend on the results of a competition.
Competition? How about that, Hedda? Extraordinary.
So that's it.
But against whom? Surely not.
Precisely. Eilert Loveborg.
This is quite incredible. It's quite impossible, isn't it? But, I mean, Judge Brack, that would be unbelievably inconsiderate. I mean, I am a married man, and we married because we were counting on that. Hedda and I ran up all those debts and borrowed money from Auntie Julia. My God, I'd more or less been promised that position, hadn't I?
Now calm down. I'm sure you'll get it in the end after this contest.
It's all rather exciting, isn't it, Tesman? Like a race.
My dear, I don't see how you can be so casual about it.
But I'm not. I'm really quite anxious to see what happens.
In any case, Mrs. Tesman, I think it's quite a good thing you should know what the situation is before you start making those purchases I gather you're threatening.
I don't see what any difference this can make.
Don't you? Well, that's up to you. Goodbye. When I take my afternoon walk, I'll call by and collect you.
Yes, do. I don't know what to think about all this.
Goodbye, Judge. Come back soon.
I will. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Judge. I'm sorry about all this. You see, Hedda, this is what comes of setting off on those wild adventures, isn't it?
Experienced at that, are you?
Well, I mean, you must admit it was rather adventurous, marrying and setting up home on nothing but expectations.
Maybe you're right.
Well, we still have our beautiful home, don't we? Our dream house? The house we fell in love with, you might say, don't you think?
I thought we agreed we were going to lead an active social life, open house.
My God, yes, I was looking forward to it. Seeing you as hostess at the head of your circle. Yes. But for the time being, we shall have to make do with each other. And Auntie Julia will come around quite often, but things ought to have been very different for you, Hedda. Very different.
I suppose I shan't be able to have my butler. That'll be the first thing.
I'm afraid not. I'm afraid servants are completely out of the question.
And the horse I was going to have?
Horse?
I suppose I better put that right out of my mind.
Good God, yes, I think that goes without saying.
Well, anyway, I still have one diversion to keep me going while I'm waiting.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. What's that, Hedda?
My pistols, George.
Your pistols.
General Gabler's pistols.
No, Hedda. Oh my God. Don't play with those things. Don't, Hedda. For my sake.